Two superintendents. Sharing knowledge.
Oh yeah, and there's coffee and pastries if you want to there.
Good morning to everybody and welcome to our hearing on dual immersion programs and biliteracy in California. It is such a pleasure to be here in the presence of so many passionate and concerned people. I am grateful for all of those who have come here today to learn together and participate in the exchange of ideas. For those of you who are watching online, live stream, I would also like to express my thanks for your interest. All of us believe wholeheartedly in giving our children the best possible education. Our emphasis on education will provide us with a qualified and skilled workforce for tomorrow. In addition, the business and community leaders of the next generation will be created through the benefit of a good quality public education. We have a very diverse district, and that is reflected in our schools with the many languages spoken, with such a wide range of socioeconomic statuses and numerous personal student backgrounds. It is for this reason that I created this select committee to research the benefits and effects of having students learn multiple languages through dual immersion programs, and to study how we can duplicate these programs throughout California. For our purposes today, California multiculturalism is apparent in the growth of its dual immersion education programs, which to date number over 400 in both public and private schools. As a former public school teacher, I believe that we must take a closer look at this fascinating model of instruction that is providing students with linguistic and learning skills far beyond what we previously believed possible. There are numerous reasons why hearings on this instructional method are critical. Dual immersion programs and education is inclusive with an emphasis on quality so that everyone who would like to become proficient in a language, whether it is in English or another language, can do so. Current monolithic models can be limiting or even stigmatizing for students. Dual immersion offers a level learning field for our students while enabling them to achieve biliteracy or the ability to be proficient in two languages. In a globalized and economically competitive state like California, dual immersion education can offer better comprehension and more positive interaction between peoples while granting a competitive professional edge to those who participate in such programs. Today we will hear from experts that will explain the background and nature of dual immersion programs, both inside the classroom and in a larger statewide context. We will delve into the dynamics of this type of learning and draw out the manner in which such stunning results are provided. We have two exciting panels that are going to be speaking to us today. I want to first just thank the Norwalk La Mirada Unified School District for providing us this beautiful facility at Excelsior High School. I want to take a moment to thank the superintendent, Dr. Danilian, who is present, and also school board member Jesse Urquidi. We also have other school districts present. One other superintendent I happen to see, Dr. Mary Sue from ABC Unified School District. With that, I want to take a moment to go ahead and introduce our first panel. First is Shelly Spiegel Coleman from Californians Together, and also Ryan Anderson from the LAO's office. So we'll begin with the first panel with Mrs. Shelly Spiegel Coleman.
Good morning, everybody. I really want to thank the Senator and his staff for putting together this hearing on what we think to be a very important, timely, and strategic moment for us to think about what it is that we hope for all of our students who graduate from our schools. Especially in this time of local control where districts have a lot of options now, we think this is the perfect time to have a conversation about building high-quality programs leading to biliteracy. And we really thank the Senator for thinking about the future and what we hope for all students in California. Closer, okay. Is this better? Is this better? So the question that I was asked to answer was, and talk a little bit about, is what is biliteracy? And for us, it's not a very complicated definition, but we really think that biliteracy is the ability to speak, read, and write proficiently at an appropriate age and grade level in English and one or more other languages. And so we think the goal of biliteracy is something that we all should be thinking about for our students and all students in California. But we know in the United States and in California also, our schools really produce monolingual speaking students. The vast majority of children in the United States study only in one language, that being English. World language instruction has decreased over the past decades, and only half of high school students in the United States take even 1 year of another language. In many of our communities, this is a time of fast language loss, especially in some of our communities, in our Latino community, when children come to us speaking only their home language, Spanish, and it's not reinforced, and it's not enhanced, and it's not taught. You can talk to many of those students when they get to middle school and high school. A, they no longer speak Spanish because they're not able, or B, they speak it because they choose not to. So there's a high degree of language loss going on in our schools. Oh, sorry, I'm going to get a hang of this. But at the same time, as all of this has been occurring, we have seen a tremendous growth in the movement and the encouragement and the celebration of attaining of biliteracy. Since the passage of Proposition 227 in 1998, when bilingual programs were diminished and almost outlawed, there was still a continued growth of dual immersion programs that the Senator spoke to, coming to, as he said, over 400 programs presently in California. The National Education Goals in 1994 stated that all students should be proficient in English and another world language. We have immersion programs in communities that have sprouted up, and in some private schools and public schools where English-only students are being immersed in a second language. And then communities in various places across the state have organized on their own heritage language programs in Spanish, in Chinese, in Armenian, for them to enhance in their community and their children the language of their home. World language programs and foreign language programs at the secondary still exist. And of course, in California, at this time, we had the development of the state seal of biliteracy. So California, as you know, was the first state in the nation to honor and recognize the achievement of biliteracy. In 2012, January 2012, the state seal of biliteracy law became law, and the award is simple. It recognizes high school seniors upon graduation certifying that they have attained and mastered 2 or more languages, one of them being English, also including American Sign Language. So what's happened since that year? So in 2010, the very first year that the awards were given to our high school seniors, the law passed in January. The information went out to the school districts in March, and between March and May, the districts decided that over 10,000 students met the criteria. We were very excited that first year. But then look what happened in 2013. That number almost doubled. 2014, it grew again, and then this last June, the number from year one tripled to a total of over 85,000 seniors in California that have received the state seal of biliteracy, demonstrating that they have the language proficiency to work at a high academic level and proficient in English and 1 or more languages. So we were excited about California's work in this area. But and what you can see here in this chart is that there are over 29 different languages that students were recognized in upon receiving the state seal of biliteracy. The vast majority, of course, in the area of Spanish, but you can see many, many other languages across our state. So this is a multilingual recognition, one that looks at proficiencies at a high level, with students able to go out and market themselves for employment, as well as using it as a uniqueness upon entry into college, into the university system. And California was the beginning of this movement, but we now have 13 states, including California, who have adopted formal state seal of biliteracy programs. There are 10 other states that are in the process, and so conceivably, within a year or two, over half of the nation will be recognizing high school seniors for their attainment of biliteracy upon graduation. And so we feel that this is really the time to think about this question that parents now are asking us across the state. Parents are asking us, anticlimactic, right? Parents are asking us, well, where are the programs leading to biliteracy in the schools? That we see our neighbors, our friends being recognized upon graduation, but for my children, where are those programs where my children become bilingual and biliterate and able to attain that recognition at graduation? And so, just a little over a year ago, Californians Together began a campaign in 2014 that we called the California Campaign for Biliteracy. I hope all of you received our publication that was out in the foyer with the materials. And we're inviting everybody to be a part of this campaign. So what is it? So what we're saying very, very clearly is this campaign is a campaign across California to develop strong, articulated, equitably accessible preschool through high school learning opportunities that will prepare students with high levels of proficiency, academic proficiency, in 2 or more languages. We are hoping that we're going to be able to see in the near future, and that school districts will start implementing a comprehensive system of pathways that allows for articulation along a continuum. So what we're looking for is multiple pathways to biliteracy. Some that would begin with just initial exposure, getting your ear attuned to another language, being motivated to learn another language, developing interest in young adults or in older students, the interest in learning another language. On that continuum, all the way through language study, language experiences that build in high academic rigor and proficiency in 2 or more languages to a very advanced level. That's what we're looking for when we're talking about a campaign and districts working with us to build multiple pathways to biliteracy. So if you look at the publication that you have and you open it up, we'd like to say our centerfold is the best centerfold. If you open it up, it's in the centerfold, pages 12 and 13. We've listed close to 20 to 25 different possibilities that districts can consider in building an interconnected, articulated structure of multiple pathways to biliteracy. For us, clearly dual immersion is the kind of program that we would like to see afforded to many, many students in California. We know the research is clear on the efficacy of that program and the high degree of proficiency students achieve in English and the other target language, but it can't be the only option available to students in our schools. And so for developing biliteracy, we want to see many entry points for students who are at the preschool level, for a middle school student who wants to begin their journey in the area of biliteracy, and for maybe a high school student also. And so when you look at these different program options that we've detailed in our publication, you'll see who they're targeted for, what the outcomes there are for, and the degree of biliteracy that you can expect from the different types of options that could be available in school districts. And so we're working with school districts across the state, and we hope that the districts look at this and they go, well, we could have about 5 or 6 of these going on in different parts of our district, in different areas, in different communities, and so that all families and all students would be able to say, this is the way I want to begin my language study. This is how I see myself becoming bilingual and biliterate. And for school districts to say, these are the resources we have. We could support 3 or 4 of these options. We could place them equitably in different corners of our school district so that it would be available to all students, and not just in one community of the school district, but spread across the school district, making it equitably accessible and making the opportunity of becoming bilingual and biliterate a reality for all students in a school district. So we're excited. We know yearly we recognize school districts who have already put together these multiple options. I can tell you there are 4 districts that are doing a tremendous effort in this area: San Francisco, Glendale, Chula Vista, and Ventura Unified. You go to our website, you'll see a write-up on the districts and see how it is that they have taken several of these options, made them interconnected, and built a comprehensive district-wide opportunity for all students in their district who are interested in becoming bilingual and biliterate. For us, it's clear the need for these programs. Foreign language education in the elementary schools is rare and almost non-existent. And if it is, it's mostly oriented towards 1 day a week, a half an hour here, a counting of numbers, learning the colors. And here in California, less than 5% of our English learners ever see the opportunity and the classroom that develops proficiency in English and another language. The world languages in secondary schools is below the national average, the offerings. And students we know in other parts of the world begin their study, their language study, in multiple languages between the ages of 5 and 9. So we have a few recommendations that we'd love the Senate and the legislature and the policymakers in California to consider to be able to really spread, as our senator said, the opportunity of dual immersion programs and multiple pathways to biliteracy across our state. For us, an important piece of this is a campaign. To develop a campaign to make the benefits and the advantages of biliteracy visible across our state. Much as we've done with STEM and much as we've done with career pathways, a similar effort, large, coordinated, supported across the state, needs to begin to look at developing multiple pathways to biliteracy, making it something that we want districts and students to honor and want them to request. We think a campaign is essential. And then some funding. Incentive money to support districts who have already begun this effort but need some support to continue growing the work that they've begun in their school districts. This incentive funding could be tied to their local control accountability plans, and that they detail the multiple pathway programs in their plans, and that in terms of the expenditure column, it would be the incentive money as well as the support from the supplemental and concentration grant funds. And then for new districts who want to start thinking about developing them, we need resources and technical assistance, either from the department or from county offices or from public and private organizations with a specialty in this area. But we need a coordinated effort to help school districts who want to start on this journey and have technical assistance and resources to begin. And very importantly, there is a shortage of bilingual teachers. There needs to be a statewide effort to build a pipeline for bilingual teachers. There are career pathway programs in many of our high schools that are highly funded, that have millions of dollars that have come to them. There should be bilingual teacher career pathway programs in all of our communities. And bilingual teacher career pathways ought to be a priority for the next round of the career pathway monies that will be going out to districts next year. And then lastly, as we did with the State Seal of Biliteracy, we would love to see a state recognition award for districts who have put together multiple pathways to biliteracy, that the state holds these districts up as leaders across our state and as examples for others. And so I'd like to end with this quote from a Nobel Prize winning scientist who says, "The world is richer than is possible to express in any one language. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Over the years, I've worked with Shelley on many manners, and she's always been very informative as far as when this particular issue, very passionate about it, and I thank you for being here. We will be, after both panels present, we're going to have an open mic for people to come up and ask questions if they'd like. That way we can continue with the program. So feel free to jot down some of the questions or hold them on till we're done. Well, after this panel, we'll bring you back up when the second panel finishes, and we'll all be up here to answer questions. But thank you, Shelley, great presentation. Our next speaker is Ryan Anderson. He's a fiscal and policy analyst at the Legislative Analysis Office, where he provides nonpartisan policy guidance to the California State Legislature. He works on issues related to English learners, special education, and local control funding formula. Ryan, thank you for being here. I don't hear you.
Yeah, I don't think my mic is on. Test. Hello? There we go. Okay. See if that works. My name is Ryan Anderson. I'm with the Legislative Analysts Office. I've been asked this morning to give some context on the state of biliteracy and dual immersion programs in California, also to discuss some of the factors that districts may have to consider before implementing one of these programs on their own. As Shelley mentioned, biliteracy refers to a strategy to develop proficiency in English and one or more world languages. And these programs primarily affect two different populations of students. First, native English speakers who have an interest in developing proficiency in a foreign language, and second, English language learners. Let's start by considering the interests of native English speakers. World language curriculum is a relatively popular curriculum at the secondary level. It is part of the admissions requirements set up by the University of California and California State University systems. In 2014-15, California schools offered approximately 36,000 courses in world language instruction with a combined enrollment of more than 930,000 students. However, it should be noted that the most popular variety of world language instruction, the standalone course, and how to use a foreign language that we're all familiar with, is typically not sufficient to develop what we might intuitively understand as true proficiency in a second language. In fact, the state world language curriculum that was adopted by the State Board of Education acknowledges a 5-stage language learning continuum, the 5th stage of which is tailored proficiency, representing the competence to use an acquired language in a variety of contexts, including outside the academic classroom. The State Board acknowledges that this 5th and final stage of second language acquisition is rarely achieved at the K-12 level and is typically only achieved if the student pursues post-secondary education in a foreign language. There are exceptions, programs that are designed to offer intensive supports for K-12 students to develop true proficiency before they graduate from high school. And an important example of these are world language immersion programs. These are programs in which native English speakers learn to speak a foreign language not merely by taking a standalone class in that language, but also by learning math, science, social studies, all taught in the medium of their chosen foreign language. Well, let's turn our attention now to the issue of English learners. English learners represent a significant proportion of California's public school enrollment. As of 2014-15, there were approximately 1.4 million English learners in California's public schools. That represents nearly a quarter of our total public school enrollment. And while under current law, all English learners are provided with assistance in their English language development, this support alone will not be sufficient in many cases to develop true biliteracy for these students. Many students will require additional supports in their primary language in order to achieve true biliteracy. The California Department of Education last conducted a census of its English learner programs in 2011, and that data revealed that the vast majority of English learners in the state receive only English language development, and only a small proportion receive any support in their primary language. When primary language support is provided, it is traditionally done in two different types of programs. The first is called transitional bilingual education. This is a strategy that is primarily intended not to develop biliteracy, but to assist the student in English language development. It takes the form of when a student first enrolls in kindergarten, first grade, most of their content area instruction is provided in their primary language. As they progress to a higher and higher grade, their native language is used less and English is used more until eventually they are transitioned into an English-only environment. There are two primary forms of transitional bilingual education programs: the early exit program, under which students are traditionally transitioned into an English-only environment starting around the third grade. And the second is a late exit program, where students are transitioned into an English-only environment around the sixth grade. An alternative strategy is the developmental or maintenance bilingual education program. Similar to the transitional program, these programs begin with the student receiving most of their instruction in their native language and gradually transition into receiving a greater proportion of instruction in English. However, in these programs, English learners continue to receive support in their primary language even after demonstrating sufficient proficiency in English to succeed in an English-only environment. An alternative program combines the interests of both student populations. This is the dual immersion program. In a dual immersion program, a population of native English speakers with an interest in acquiring world language skills and a similar number of native speakers of that language enroll in the same program where content area instruction is provided in both languages. The goals of dual immersion programs include not only language acquisition in both groups, but also promoting social integration between the two student populations. I'd like to discuss now a few of the factors that districts need to consider before establishing a biliteracy program. I'm going to discuss 4 primary factors, the first of which is appropriate teaching staff. This is an important constraint for many districts. It's relatively few teachers are qualified to provide content area instruction in a language other than English. The California Commission on Teacher Credentialing provides a special authorization known as BCLAD, which stands for Bilingual Cross-Cultural Language and Academic Development, which is traditionally intended for teachers to be able to provide instruction in a primary language or content area instruction in a language other than English. However, relatively few teachers in California are qualified to provide instruction in a language other than English. Second factor districts need to consider is curriculum. Because biliteracy programs are relatively rare, districts may have to dedicate significant time to identifying appropriate materials or working with their teachers to develop materials of their own. A third issue is professional development. Teachers may require significant assistance, especially as a program is first started, understanding how to implement the curriculum, how to integrate that with the other standards they have. And a final factor that needs to be considered is family buy-in. Sufficient interest needs to exist in biliteracy programs in order for such a program to succeed. Traditionally, schools promote biliteracy programs by saying that biliteracy is a valuable skill in an increasingly global marketplace. As Shelley discussed, to that end, the state has established a seal of biliteracy, which is affixed to a student's high school diploma, signifying proficiency in English and one or more world language. An additional consideration in family buy-in is that under current law, parents of an English learner student must complete a special waiver for that student to receive instruction in a language other than English. In 2011, about 77,000 of these waivers were approved in the state of California, again out of a population of nearly 1.4 million English learners. The final issue I'd like to discuss is that of funding for biliteracy programs. At the moment, there is no specific source of state support for biliteracy and dual immersion programs, but that fact must be considered in the context of California's current efforts to reform its school finance system. Whereas in previous years, a significant proportion of state funding for schools was provided through categorical programs, where schools received funds for administering programs that met specific state requirements. In 2012, most categorical programs were abolished in favor of the Local Control Funding Formula, or LCFF. With the LCFF, focus in state funding has shifted from compliance with state regulations to local accountability. School districts are required to develop strategic spending plans in conversations with local stakeholders, and it is hoped that the flexibility provided by LCFF provides the space and resources necessary to develop programs such as biliteracy if school districts believe these programs are beneficial for their student populations. That's the end of my presentation. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. Now we're gonna wait till the questions till after the second panel gets done. That way we can just maybe all have a chance to answer the questions. And while we're transitioning from this panel to the next panel, we're gonna show a quick video of a successful local program that's taking place that we would like to show to you and have the next panel switch out.
Hola, soy María Elena Garza Jiménez, orgullosa directora de la Escuela Primaria Nimes, parte del Distrito Escolar ABC en la ciudad de Artesia, California. Estamos entusiasmados a someter nuestra aplicación para el Premio a la Excelencia Académica en Español. Nimes es afortunado en que podemos ofrecer a nuestros estudiantes el programa de inmersión en español. Hemos logrado educar a estudiantes en este programa a que sean bilingües, preparados para enfrentarse al futuro con todavía otra arma. En un mundo que sigue siendo más conectado y competitivo, el dominio de un segundo idioma es esencial. Nuestros maestros no solamente enseñan materias en inglés y español, pero también se estudian las culturas del mundo. Nimes tiene alumnos de varias culturas, incluyendo hispanos, americanos, asiáticos y alumnos de India y Europa. Somos una escuela que se enfoca en el medio ambiente y tecnología. Nuestros alumnos se gradúan con la sabiduría del lenguaje y valores para proteger nuestro mundo. Si somos escogidos para este premio, nuestros maestros, estudiantes y familias estarán aún más orgullosos y felices. Los fondos premiados serán utilizados para educar a nuestros maestros en métodos nuevos y para seguir celebrando cultura y nuestro programa de doble inmersión en español. I appreciate your time and would like to invite you to take a glimpse into the Nimes campus via this multimedia presentation. Thank you for this opportunity, and I hope to meet you soon. And now, I present our Nimes teachers, students, and classrooms. Thank you. Buenos días. Buenos días. A, B, C, H, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, V, W, X, Y, Z es la última letra.
Hello, I'm Isabel Almeida. I'm the dual language coordinator here at NEMIS. Our dual language program is going on our 20th year here at NEMIS. The parents really want the program, and it's what keeps the program coming all this time. Our program is integrated into the environmental science and technology, which starts in kindergarten. The children go to science lab, the computer lab, and are integrated into all the programs that go on at our school. They receive the services in Spanish and in English, and at the end of the program, they are bilingual and biliterate. Another big part of our program is the community, like I said. The families really get to know each other because we have such a mixture of communities, of ethnic groups in our program. They really get to know each other. They form play dates, they form play groups, they meet throughout the summer and continue to be a source of resource for each other as they become friends and really form a large, loving family for their children. Thank you.
Este es el salón de kinder con la señora Almeida. Juanito cuando baila, 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 baila. Juanito cuando baila, baila, baila. Rito, 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 así baila Juanito. I'm Abigail Arroyo. And can you tell us a little bit about what kind of program you're in?
I'm in NEMIS Elementary Dual Immersion program, and that means I speak English and Spanish.
¿Y qué aprendes en este programa?
Yo aprendo ciencias, matemáticas, de los presidentes y mucho más. Hi, I'm Kelsey Adams, and I'm in room 9.
And what have you learned in our dual language program?
I learned that I could speak in Spanish, that like math, language arts, and like grammar, punctuations, where to put them in Spanish, and different words in Spanish. I could communicate like with my mom if she doesn't know something, with my grandparents, or she wants to tell her something. I can translate for her.
Wonderful. So, what is the best part of the dual language program, or the best part at NEMIS?
Like everything's great here. I like this school.
Hola, mi nombre es Ana Champlin y yo soy maestra de tercer y cuarto grado aquí en la escuela NEMIS. Tengo 18 años en este gran programa y yo he visto cómo ha enriquecido este programa la vida de los niños. También es un programa donde ellos pueden sobresalir. Cada día es muy emocionante porque podemos aprender en los dos idiomas y para mí es muy emocionante ver a estos niños que saben los dos idiomas. Gracias.
Now, Max, you shared that your parents don't speak any Spanish. So how do you get help with homework?
First, I translate to them in English, and then they help me.
Wonderful. Is there anything else any of you want to share?
How are you doing today?
We're doing great. Anything else? No? Okay.
Hola, yo soy Randolph, estoy en quinto grado. Hola, yo soy Jaime, yo estoy en quinto grado.
¿Qué me puede decir del programa de inmersión?
Bueno, lo que hacemos, aprendemos dos lenguajes. En matemáticas, algunas veces hablamos en inglés o en español.
Okay. ¿Y cómo te va a ayudar el programa en el futuro?
Nos va a ayudar porque cuando estemos más grandes vamos a tener un trabajo que sí incluye hablar español o inglés.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Holman and I'm in 6th grade. And I have been here in Nimes since kindergarten. And
¿Qué has aprendido en este programa?
yo he aprendido mucho en inglés y en español y va a ser muy importante para tu futuro. Y te va a ayudar a escoger muchos diferentes trabajos, como si dicen, hablas en inglés o en español y puedes decir, hablo los dos. Y por eso te pueden agarrar más rápido.
Hola, soy la maestra señora Lison Morris y enseño tercer grado. And I also teach in English, so it's our dual immersion program. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my classroom. In our third grade classroom, we primarily are speaking in Spanish. It is 80-20, and then later on in January, it's 70-30. And what we do is we use our Houghton Mifflin language art, and our language art series is a great way of using multicultural stories to present to the students so that they are able to read about different people around the world while also learning both languages of how to read, speak, and write in Spanish and in English. We usually transition in about January, February, which I'm currently doing at the time. And the students are doing an outstanding job of doing both languages, where they're starting to write and demonstrate how they've transitioned. The students, as you see, they write in science. Currently, they learned about the planets, but we will be writing about solids, liquids, and social studies. We learned about the Constitution. We have some samples in our portfolio, and once they toured my room, we also did the talking cloth from Houghton Mifflin, which incorporated multicultural aspect of the African Agana quilt. And so the kids got to make one and make up a symbol and what it meant to them, just like the African Americans would have back then. So I hope you enjoyed the classroom and giving you a little glimpse of what the third grades do this year.
Suena cálido. ¿Andrés? Caliente. Entonces la abuela vive en un lugar donde hace ¿qué? Donde hace calor. ¿Tienes razón? Entonces, ¿cuántas abuelas tiene la niña? Dos abuelas. Vamos a continuar. Esta abuela o esta niña debe ser como ustedes, right? Alguna. Tienen dos abuelas. Una que habla inglés y otra que habla solamente español. Cuando Liliana.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Moreno, and I am the PTA president here at IMES. I'm also a parent of two students who are in the dual immersion program. My students are in the program. I think it's important for us to continue their Spanish language development, coming from Mexican heritage. We think that this is important to carry that on for them. And here at NEMIS, they do a wonderful job of providing the appropriate resources, educational resources, the homework that comes home, and the development. You can see that the teachers are well trained to deliver this kind of program, and so that's what we appreciate about this school and the program.
Great, thank you so much for that video. And I guess our first speaker for this panel is going to be Mrs. Almeida, Isabel Almeida, who we just got to see in the video, which is great. So she's going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the methodology used at NEMIS and how this could be helpful to other schools or potential schools. Ms. Almeida, please begin.
Thank you, Senator. It's a great privilege and honor to be here and to talk a little bit about NEMIS. But really, to get to know NEMIS, you have to be at NEMIS. Okay. NEMIS, the NEMIS Dual Language Immersion Program is helping prepare our children for an international world in which bilingualism will be vital to their business, social, and cultural lives. If you look around in this classroom or in this auditorium, you see people of many heritages working together, having the same thoughts, how important it is to prepare our children for the future. And this is where it starts, in the classrooms. All students learn a second language without compromising their first language. In following our dual language philosophy in our district's curriculum, which is aligned with the standards, our educational program is meaningful, academically challenging, and thematically integrated across the grade levels. This helps the children learn all day long, and it makes sense to them as they learn vocabulary from one topic, and it's used throughout the day. Language and literature are developed and integrated across the curriculum to ensure students learn the content as well as the academic language associated with the content. Bilingual books, Spanish books, English books, magazines, and computer programs of many genres are part of our classrooms because of our technology abilities. These resources reflect the value of the students' culture. English speakers are exposed to Spanish at an early age, allowing them to attain native-like fluency. Very quickly, at last year's culminating activity for 6th grade, one of my previous students gave the Spanish culminating speech, and I was just blown away, tears streaming down my face, to hear the young man now, whom I had in kindergarten and 1st grade, who was struggling to learn Spanish. And he did such a beautiful job expressing himself. It was just, sometimes we don't see the end result, especially for myself. I teach kindergarten. And when they get to 6th grade and they have such command of their own home language and their second language, it's inspiring. Okay, let's see. Let's go back one. Okay. Spanish speakers build a strong base in their first language, enabling them to be successful in English. As these children continue to learn English, they're still learning academic language, academic information, which then they store. They learn this through their home language, are able to communicate with the parents are able to help them. They do not fall behind in language arts, they do not fall behind in math, science, social study, or any of the subjects. They are internalizing the information, and once they make that transition into English, that have the background. Continuing with Spanish language development facilitates the continued development of language structures and skills. In turn, when students are instructed in their first language, the content of the lessons become more comprehensive when similar content is later taught in English. Second language acquisition occurs naturally as students interact socially and learn from each other. Our groups in our classrooms are heterogeneous and homogeneous. It depends on what it is that the topic is that we're covering. For the ELD groups, those are definitely homogeneous. We try to group the children, the English learners, according to their ability. During that time, the English speakers have English enrichment activities with English dominant teachers. Language majority students develop higher levels of proficiency in a second language while making normal progress in their first language. Both language groups perform academically at their grade level, developing positive attitudes towards the two languages being learned and towards the communities they represent. They get to know each other. They get to become friends and consider themselves family in the classrooms. Our educators, the best teachers we have at NEMIS, are really the dual language teachers. One of the greatest strengths of the dual language immersion program is the dedicated teachers. Each of them are academically skilled in both languages with B-clad credentials and fully buy into the program. The teachers have a vested interest in their students' success and are proud of their students. The B-clads are definitely needed for the program. However, we also make sure that our teachers, when we interview them, have a strong Spanish vocabulary, a strong Spanish background. We want our children to be learning from people that know how to speak Spanish correctly. Teachers promote positive interactions between and amongst all their students. Because of these positive social and instructional interactions, both English language learners and English speakers perform better academically. This happens not just within each classroom, but across the grade levels and throughout the school. Because we put at grade levels, our ELD groups are grouped by levels and designated to different teachers, they get to know everyone. The teachers get to know all the children at their grade levels. The children get to know all the teachers at their grade level. It is not just my students. They are all my students. All 714 of them are my students. I know them by name. To ensure maximum acquisition of both languages, the children need to stay in the program through 6th grade. Our highly effective programs equip our students to be productive citizens in a culturally diverse society. NEMA students will develop native speakers' fluency in both English and Spanish, actively participate in hands-on learning experiences, work in cooperative groups, use technology to communicate and solve problems across the curriculum. For an example, the one-to-one iPads in 5th and 6th grade, actively participate in our environmental science program, including hands-on science lab and outdoor science center. This is our program design, 90-10 model. As you can see, we have English throughout the grade levels, and we have Spanish throughout the grade levels. It's the amount, the percentage of each language that changes as children develop their base of education. In the target language at NIMES, the target language is Spanish. In our target goal for balance of the languages, starting in kindergarten, is 50% Spanish speakers and 50% English speakers. Parents need to be actively participating in their children's education, such as with homework support and volunteering classrooms, join PTA and school site council. Have opportunities to learn a second language. Many of my parents, English-speaking parents, have gone back to school to learn Spanish because they want to be involved. They want to continue helping their children throughout the elementary school level. A couple of them have even become bilingual teachers after deciding to go back and learn Spanish. Parents also need to take part in the academic decisions made for their children. We give workshops to the parents on how to best help their children in both Spanish and English so that no one is left out if they really want to be involved. District support. Maintenance of the staff, or maintaining our staff, teachers to provide the needed classrooms. Sometimes, because of our numbers, it is important that we have teachers in the prospective classrooms to make sure the program continues. The district supports us with textbooks in both languages to aid in the smooth transition from Spanish language arts to English language arts, math, science, etc. The district also pays for all the state assessments. Because students are instructed in 2 languages, both groups are expected to attain high standards. And these standardized tests help us gauge how the children are learning. And the teachers are best able to assess and show the progress the children are making. The results help the teachers shape and or monitor their instructional program and student needs. The district also pays for dual language teachers to take part in unit development for our district and to translate many of the materials needed. This is our school demographics. As you can see, we have children from various groups. If you look in my classroom today, sitting down on the rug, I have a mini United Nations. I have children from all groups sitting in my classroom, learning Spanish and learning English together. It's very, very heartwarming. Also, you can see that 42% of our children, of our classrooms, are dual language classrooms. Awards and recognition: National Magnet School of Distinction with emphasis on environmental science and technology, Golden Bell Award for an outstanding science program and festival, nationally recognized Healthy School of America, top 10 in the nation for an award of excellence in Spanish from the Spanish Embassy in DC, winner of the Verizon Innovation Grant, and sole recipient of the 2013 Seal of Excellence Award by the California Association of Bilingual Education. I have a couple of quotes from previous student and parents, and as you can see, Sean Fujiwara, notice the last name, Sean Fujiwara, was very happy to be a student at NIMES in the dual language program. Learning a foreign language is not an easy task. Learning one later in life is even more difficult. Developing a background and even fluency in a language early on makes high school mandated foreign language courses a breeze, and in the long run will translate into higher salary. I firmly believe that the Immersion program paved the way for my college-bound future and will recommend it to anyone. He's a Whitney student. Then I have Debbie and Steve Orr, parents who were in my classroom, whoops, thank you, and are also educators. So they were looking for a special place for their wonderful daughter. We were looking for a program that would challenge our daughter, provide her with lifelong skills, and develop a self-motivated, responsible student. The dual language program at Nemes has given her all of that and so much more. We are proud of her ability to be fluent both in Spanish and English, and neither of us speak Spanish at all. She has blossomed with self-confidence and innate ability to respond to both academic and conversational questions in either language with ease. I'd also like to let you know that the staff is a wonderful staff. You still need to have a watchdog, because there will always be new teachers coming into the staff that might not be aware what dual language is all about, and it needs to be explained to them. Your principal has to be a strong principal, someone that will remind the district that you are there and you need their support, and that this is a better program for the children in your community. Your principal has to stand up for you, not only to the district, but also to the parents when explaining the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Almeida. Next, we have Lori Olson, who is the director of Pre-K to 3 Sobrato Early Academic Language, also known as SEAL initiative of the Sobrato Family Foundation, currently being replicated in 69 schools across 12 districts in California. Lori, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. In addition to being the director of the Sobrato Early Academic Language Model, more succinctly called the SEAL model, I've been involved in English learner education in California for too many decades to count, as a researcher, as technical assistance provider, and developing demonstration programs. And I just want to say to you, Senator Mendoza, I really applaud you for the development of this select committee. I think this is the time in California to step up both for our own children and to lead the nation toward creating schooling systems that really give all children the opportunity to master 2 and more languages and be scaffolded into the 21st century with the skills they need to live and work and thrive and lead. And I'm happy to have this opportunity to share with you the SEAL program, which is one program model toward that end. SEAL is a preschool to 3rd grade model of language-rich education that's integrated throughout all subjects throughout the whole school day. The goals are academic success in all subjects, and it's a full curriculum: science, social studies, the arts, as well as language arts and math. Our goals are high levels of literacy and ownership of literacy, love of language, biliteracy, bilingualism whenever we can. Critical thinking is one of our goals, and also the creation of engaged, participating, motivated, active, joyful learners. It was piloted in 3 schools in the Bay Area from 2008 to 2013 and is now being replicated in 69 schools across 12 districts in the state, both north and south. While SEAL is an approach that works with all teachers in a school to reshape their instruction and curriculum for all of their students, it is at its heart a model that was designed around the needs of English learners. And we didn't set out to create a model just for the fun of it. We did it in response to some very serious conditions here in California. And SEAL is very much a product of this time in history in California. It was a response in part to the disappointments of No Child Left Behind, yet another school reform era that left behind English learners and left persistent gaps in access, opportunity, and achievement, and we were determined that the Common Core era of reform in California could not be another one of those reforms. So we set out to create a model that would demonstrate what it looks like to implement high-level, rigorous 21st century standards in a way that centralizes and really meets the needs of English learners. SEAL is also a response to the, I guess I have to point it that way, is also a response to the unacceptably high number of long-term English learners in our state. Students who come into our schools as English learners with a language other than English in kindergarten, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years later still don't have the English skills they need, and along that journey have lost their home language, are left without the English that they need, lose their connection to family and heritage because they no longer have that language, and are foreclosed many opportunities as a result. It's a huge loss for them, it's a huge loss for our state of the very language resources we so desperately need, and of the bridge building skills we need for this 21st century world. SEAL is also a response to the new generation of really powerful research on what works for English learners. And we knew with the National Literacy Panel on Language Minority Children and Youth reports that what was happening in California schools and in policy very much flew in the face of much of what research was suggesting. And so we set out with SEAL to enact that research, show people what it would look like on the ground. Particularly, the things we were heeding in that were the importance of starting early with quality preschool education that is articulated and that builds in a coherent way up through the grades, so language development is a real pathway. We were heeding the crucial role of home language in the development of just literacy overall, but also its role as a foundation for developing high levels of English. We were heeding the central role of oral language as a basis for literacy, oral language which had largely disappeared from much of the curriculum in California. We approached the research understanding the importance of content-based English language development and the turn away from what had become a very narrow focus on discrete, separate, isolated literacy skills as opposed to language being learned in the context of learning about the world, talking about the world. So SEAL was designed really as a model to implement the Common Core with English learners at the center, to prevent long-term English learners, and as a model to enact English learner research. But it was also designed to enact a vision of 21st century education. And to some degree, that's incorporated in the new standards, but it's also a vision for us that points to biliteracy as an essential skill, particularly in a state like California. Ours is an asset-based, vision-based model for English learners, which meant that we needed to be a biliteracy model because it was a pathway to English, it was a pathway to rigorous academic content, but also because in this state, for many children, they have the right to have literacy and language skills that enable them to function in and across their multiple language worlds. So in SEAL classrooms, language is developed in and through, there we go, in and through all academic areas. It's the vehicle through which children learn, it's a skill they are learning, and it's their means of expressing what they're learning and their voice. So language is central no matter what you're doing, it's core to no matter what a teacher's doing, it's intentional, and a SEAL classroom is alive in our classrooms. So to make this happen though, we have to work on multiple levels. It can't just be about instructional strategies. It can't just be about curriculum redesign. It can't just be about what's your language of instruction and what's the allocation of minutes. It is all of that, but it requires working on all of these levels, providing students with the full curriculum, standards-based, providing teachers with sustained professional development, including coaching support and building collaboration between teachers so they can create curriculum together, so they can practice and refine their new instructional strategies. It means supporting family engagement and homeschool connection, and it means working with the district on its systems, so you can knit that articulated preschool on up kind of system across classrooms, across grade levels, across schools. So we do this through integrated thematic units, similar to what Nemis was talking about, standards-based, next generation science, new math, all of the new standards, using intensive, high-level pedagogical practices, providing content-based ELD that builds on the background knowledge and the linguistic skills children are developing in their first language. And it's important for you to know that these strategies, these high-level pedagogical practices, because we're working with all teachers in a school and all kids, we are working in biliteracy classrooms, we're working with two-way programs, and we're also working in structured English immersion classrooms because of the importance of knitting real coherence across a school. But the main focus is on biliteracy, always as a value, and in our two-way and biliteracy classrooms as an actual goal. And this is what it looks like. This is what you see. You see a lot of oral language. Kids are talking. You see an enriched environment that inspires kids to become engaged. This is a farm unit. This is their milking station. But the environment has a role in education, and unless we recognize that, we don't know how kids learn. That is how kids learn. Active, hands-on learning in everything they do, tangible, real life, inquiry-based, project-based, exploratory teaching and learning. Collaboration and teamwork, which requires language, but requires a whole host of other 21st century skills as well. Authentic writing and an emphasis on voice in both of a children's languages. Collaborative writing and editing. Informational text, narrative, and all genres and writing types. Deep engagement with books and text, again in both of their languages. Grappling with high-level content, having to explain it to each other, having to engage in constructing knowledge as well as talking about it. Making formal presentations in academic content, and hopefully you've noticed by now that it's the production of language, but production of language around what they're learning, what they're thinking about, what they're wondering, and in all of this, many opportunities for that homeschool connection and the engagement of families in what their children are learning. So the thing about all of this is it's a heavy lift for teachers to learn to do this. It's different kinds of materials that are needed, but it works. And we were evaluated very heavily, an external evaluation by Catherine Lindholm-Leary, who's a nationally known expert on dual language education, in schools that were disproportionately affected by the very things that are most often associated with lower achievement in academics. So our schools, much more heavily English learner, much more heavily free and reduced lunch, their parents having very low academic levels. All of the things that in many communities spell low academic achievement, right? But despite the fact that our kids came into schools with lower language than in their comparison schools, what we found from the evaluation is that SEAL students show equal or higher levels of growth and achievement in language, literacy, and mathematics than other students. The patterns were true in all SEAL classrooms, whether it was English taught or the bilingual or two-way. But the two-way and bilingual programs are consistently stronger, showing greater growth, higher achievement than the English-taught classrooms. And by third grade in English, our bilingual two-way classrooms were showing scores that were similar to, or in most cases, much higher than those that had been in English-only instruction. So no loss on the English side at all, and very strong Spanish. And the other part of this that refers back to was mentioned in earlier presentations. Those students that are in English-only instruction, by second grade, we saw significant language loss in their home language. So, SEAL works. Teachers love it, parents are excited, students are engaged, they're using rigorous language in both their languages, and districts are clamoring for it. We have many districts lined up wanting to do SEAL. And I think part of what we're learning in the going to scale process is that if we're really serious in California about making language-rich biliteracy education available on a wide scale, there are some systems issues that have to get addressed. There are barriers. Biliteracy education requires teachers skilled in teaching ways that are very different from the expectations of the past decade or so. We need resources devoted to their professional development, to teacher planning and collaboration time, to purchasing the high-quality materials this kind of teaching requires, and it requires a real shift in beliefs in this state. There are many people who still feel biliteracy education is illegal. There are people who believe biliteracy education doesn't work. We have a woefully inadequate supply of bilingual teachers. There's no way we can pull off an agenda around biliteracy without the state really addressing the teacher shortage piece. We have a state accountability system that in the past only recognized and awarded achievement in English. And an English-only accountability system is not sufficient. So we should seize this moment in the creation of a new accountability system to see to it that we have the primary language assessments in place and that knowledge and development of biliteracy skills and knowledge in other languages is recognized and awarded. So those are matters for policy. And our recommendations to you, there it goes, is attention to that pipeline for bilingual teachers, needing a real state plan around professional learning for all teachers and how to teach in a language-rich way. We ought to build biliteracy as a goal into the new accountability system and incorporate those assessments that go along with it. And we need state leadership like you standing up and making clear this is a value, this is important to the future of our communities and to our state. So I just want to leave you with this one thought again. It's not just about the language of instruction. We could have instruction in many different languages going on in the state and have it be old style, that's not about critical thinking, that's not really about what we need kids to be able to do in the 21st century. It is about the language of instruction, yes, but it is also about learning environments, curriculum designed to embed language development in really thinking about the world, all in the hands and hearts of teachers who understand the dual language development, who understand it, who know how to deliver powerful instruction, and believe that their students can be linguistic geniuses. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Laurie. Well said. Appreciate the recommendations, really helpful. Our next speaker, Carlin Aguilera Ford, who is Assistant Superintendent of the San Francisco Unified School District. He supervises 16 elementary schools. 5 of the schools provide dual language instruction in Spanish or Mandarin. Before this, he was Assistant Superintendent with the Zone Mission District. He is responsible for graduating schools out of the School Improvement Grant by developing systems and structures that ensure sustainability of the continuous improvements of cycles initiated by the superintendent's zone across the K-12 schools. Thank you for being here.
And good morning, buenos dias, and thank you so very much for holding this hearing. It's wonderful, and I think this will really set the path for other members of the legislature to do so, hopefully. I will speak today, and I am also the president of the California Association for Bilingual Education Board of Directors. So that's actually part of my intention to be here. It's not just to talk about San Francisco Unified School District, but I'm representing an organization that has been in existence for over 4 decades, and we are trying to make sure that these ideas from today remain for the next 40 years. So that's part of our work. I will start with Mary. Mary is a student 15 years ago in a dual language program. Mary's mom is Dorothy, African-American family, single mom, and Dorothy knew that she wanted something different for Mary. And Dorothy went to Buena Vista Elementary School, one of the first dual language programs in Spanish in San Francisco Unified School District. And Dorothy asked, "Can I enroll Mary in your program?" Of course, you can. We welcome Mary. By second grade, Mary was very active. She loved the language, and she knew how to use it. Mary is in the cafeteria and got into a small fight. I'm the assistant principal at Buena Vista, and I called Mary, and at some point she said, "It's okay, you can call anyone. I am calling your mom, but you need to write right now exactly what happened and why did you do that." My mom doesn't read en español. Mi mamá no lee en español. "Okay, you have to write it in English." You know that I'm just learning to write and read in English, so I cannot write it. So this was Mary, a second grader, who knew the power of language at that young age. Today, Mary is overseas. She is working in Chile, and she was hired to work with the campesinos in Chile because of her language skills. This is just one example of what dual language instruction can do for all of our children in California. And like Mary, we have Alejandra, Ashanti, Lisa, Delani, and we have many others that in the dual language program have been able to achieve and actually to overcome the expectations that so many times we set up for children who are in dual language programs. Now, what does it mean, and I will talk now as a principal of a school that I have been principal of 3 schools with dual language program. And the number one piece for me and for us as a community and as a district is just having that vision that dual language programs, biliteracy programs, are not programs to save anyone, and are not programs to just give children a little bit of a taste of just support. Dual language programs, biliteracy programs, are exactly the possibility of providing what our 2 panelists have spoken before, that concept of rich, high-level academic language, where kids can create, do, debate in different languages. For that, you need people who believe in it, but not just believing, because if I believe and I don't know, I won't be able to do it. Believing, preparing people to do so, and actually at the district level and at the administration level, every single principal, it does not matter the type of school that you work at, every single principal should know about learning a second language and about leading a school of biliteracy programs. Even if you don't have one, because at any given moment, we should be able to say, Carlin, now you're going to lead a Japanese immersion program right now, even if you don't know Japanese, you know second language acquisition, and you know what rich instruction in a second language means. And that is a system level. That cannot be just a school level. For that, you need to create a community that will believe in it. And very important, at the legislature, at the state level, we need to have the support so that districts can do that. Because as we are still having the threat of the hammer here, with an accountability system that is not supporting the development of these programs, then there will be the few that will stand out and will say, yes, we will do it. So coming back to the actual practice piece, I will mention San Francisco Unified School District. We have over 12 dual language programs at the elementary level in Spanish, Mandarin, Cantonese, and now we are actually developing Arabic and Vietnamese. Because the reality of the world have changed. And the world is demanding people who can be the Marys of tomorrow, who can go to any of these countries and who can support people from here or over there. So we have those programs. We have at the middle school 4 Spanish dual language programs, and we have at the high school 2 language programs. No world language, dual language programs where students are receiving actual content area in 1 or 2 languages, meaning targeted languages. And right now, we are developing an academy career pathway in the health and science in Spanish. So that language of medicine, that language of nursing, that language of working in health is being learned, and actually we can graduate those doctors that could actually support people who are coming but can go and work in other places. With all these pieces in place, I will go back. School level, community, teachers, you need to provide the support in terms of learning. What does it mean pedagogy? What does it mean learning in different languages? Then at the district level, all that, I cannot emphasize this enough. It cannot just be a group of people. It has to be system-wide so you can generate the impact. Then you need to connect with your legislators, and very important, city hall, the mayor and the supervisors of your city. Right now, San Francisco is engaging in a public campaign so that San Francisco, if we want to call it World City, needs to demonstrate it, not just by inviting people, but also speaking and showing the languages that we speak as a community. That could be your case of your district. That could be the case of LA. That could be the case of Long Beach. You have it. So why don't we connect the legislature, the city hall, the mayor, to really do that public campaign about languages and really say we are leading the nation? And I guess we will be the only ones who can do it right now. And if you set the example, we can get other states doing so. And after that, definitely, it's not just opening, it's not just installing the program, it's not just implementing. Every other year, we need to evaluate what are the results. We need to figure out, are we supporting people? How many kids are we graduating? What are the language proficiency rates that they have? And how many teachers are we recruiting? And that is critical. Lori emphasized on the teaching force. We right now are struggling to get the bilingual teachers. So what we are trying to do is figuring out pathways for these teachers to actually get the certification in the state of California as we invite them and as we prepare them. So teacher is the force of teachers is necessary. We need to do that. And we need to figure out between the California Commission on Teaching Credentialing with the higher education institution and the legislature, there should be a way how we can address that. And I think it is possible. If you keep leading the way, I'm guessing with you and Californians together and other organizations like CABE, we can get it together and we can have that 21st century that we all talk about. So that's exactly what I wanted to share with you today.
Thank you so much. A lot of good information. As we begin to bring up the next panel to take on some questions, I want to thank both panels for coming out and really speaking on their expertise on the front line of what we call biliteracy in California. I've been inspired with a lot of the comments that have happened today. I'm very happy that this program was aired live and also will be recorded to play for people who want to see it later. And we'll be working on the report to provide for the state legislators to know what has happened today in future hearings. My intent with this committee is to begin to educate not only the legislature, but the different communities that we're going to go and present to for them to understand what is available, what's out there, why are these programs successful, and how do we replicate them. I think we're all in the same mindset. And one of my takeaways from today that I keep hearing is we need to create a campaign to educate the public about biliteracy. Because you're right, there's still some leftover stigma of bilingual education, leftover stigma that was politicized, that politicized the state many years ago, unfortunately to the detriment of our kids. And I think I think we've come a time now where we've moved away from that, but I still think that there's some lingering effects to that and misconceptions and people who are not just aware of what's going on as far as the benefits of biliteracy. And I'm just very grateful that you came out today and really share your thoughts and really express a direction to us as far as how we need to proceed. And I believe we do have a copy of your presentations that I would want to include in a future report, so I really want to thank you for that. And I hope this is not the last time we actually work on something like this. I do think that sitting down together, like you mentioned with California Together, organizations, the other folks, and begin to create that campaign. This committee is set up to do exactly that. And there's a lot of important measures that are coming up next year that the public is going to be voting on a year from now to talk about what direction we're going to go as a state. Do we continue to believe that biliteracy is a bad thing, or are we going to move past that and overturn and actually move in a direction that we embrace and adopt biliteracy as a way of preparing our young kids for the next, I guess, for the next wave of jobs that are currently here and we're not prepared for. And another takeaway is, and I've been here for years about a teacher shortage, right? And people, I mention it sometimes in Sacramento, they don't believe me. And I'm like, I keep hearing it, and I keep seeing a lot of folks are going to be retiring soon. I have a credential, I have a B-class credential, and many teachers are still, some of them are still getting this, but many of them are not. We need to encourage them to take that pathway. So I really want to continue with you on ensuring that we create a plan on how do we create this campaign and begin to tackle these issues, hopefully in the next session. And I know we have limited time on that. So with that, I want to open it up for questions from the audience if we have any. If you do, please step forward to the mic there and state your name and the organization that you belong to, and state your question either to a particular person or just in general, and we'll go ahead and begin. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Marcos Aguilar. Senator Mendoza, thank you very much, and all of you for your support. It's good to hear that there's a discussion about two things, the importance of language and the acknowledgement of California as an international state. That's nothing new, however. California, since its existence, since its inception, was international. There were indigenous peoples here from various nations before California was established, and they were, for the most part, multilingual and fluent in various cultures as well. I'm here on behalf of, and as the head of school of Anahuacalmecac International University Preparatory of North America. We are a State Board of Education authorized charter school in East Los Angeles. And I want to share with you a testimony that I'll provide you copies of highlighting the importance of language for indigenous peoples, including indigenous peoples from Mexico and Latin America, as well as Native Californians. We are a community-based autonomous public charter school, and we hereby add our organizational voice to the call for an expansion and enrichment of educational opportunities to deepen the education of our next generation through maternal languages, indigenous languages, and multilingual learning. We further declare today that towards the eradication of racism, particularly as this experience impacts indigenous peoples in relation to others, drawing upon local, state, national, and international standards of justice, that multilingual education be welcomed as a strategy to overcome decades of educational, social, political injustices aimed squarely at indigenous peoples, including Mexicano, Mexican American Indian peoples living in California. It must be acknowledged that California's first peoples practiced multilingualism as a manner of diplomacy and cultural respect among Native nations since time immemorial. We note further that the impacts of xenophobic and anti-Mexican, anti-multilingual, anti-educational, political, and ideologically backward actions, policies, and laws in the state of California have set our children and consequently civil society back decades with regards to relations among communities, people, and sovereign indigenous nations. Therefore, we call upon the honorable members of this select committee and the government of the state of California towards seeking truth and reconciliation with the discriminatory past and present of indigenous peoples both within and beyond the state of California, to study the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples as it relates to the questions of language, culture, children, and education. We further call upon this esteemed body to uphold autonomous examples of multilingual education organized by indigenous peoples and communities, such as the Nahuac International University Preparatory, not simply as a means by which to promote biliteracy, but as a step towards advancing locally organized and controlled educational solutions created for, by, and with indigenous peoples. Lastly, we strongly urge the members of this esteemed body to commit itself and the state of California to taking effective measures in conjunction with indigenous peoples in order for indigenous individuals, particularly children, including those living outside their communities of origin, to have access to an education in their own culture and provided in their own language with all due haste. And I'll end with a quote of our recently deceased Nahuatl language teacher at our school. We have since 2006 been part of the Mexico-California binational international agreement on educational exchange, and have worked with Nahuatl communities in Mexico to bring Nahuatl teachers to teach at our school, along with other indigenous teachers. Our elder died in early October 2015, and with that was a huge loss of knowledge and wisdom about the language and through the language. And in his dying words, he told us, "Xqueman tiquitosca, mas que tigmatis tititlantoca, tigmatis tititlantica." We'll never give up, not even to our last breath. And so I call upon you to think about not only in terms of biliteracy, but in terms of multilingual fluency that is important in our communities, in particular as indigenous peoples, because we speak English, Spanish, Nahuatl, Mayan languages, Zapoteco, Mixteco, and none of those languages should be sacrificed. And it's the responsibility of the state of California as an internationalized state and as a state of a member of the United Nations to fully implement and recognize the rights of indigenous people, particularly children, with regards to the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. Thank you very much for your time. I have copies here to leave with you.
Thank you so much for your
Do you have
letter.
any questions?
No. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm Donna Artukovich from the California State PTA. I'm an education advocate for English language learners. And my question is for you, Senator Mendoza. You alluded to the possibility that we're going to get to vote on this, and I know there's going to be a proposition on the 2016 ballot that will overturn portions of the former Prop 227. I just wondered if you could speak more specifically about that so everyone will know about it so we can get people to vote for it.
Yes, yes, Prop 227, thank you so much. There's a proposition in the November ballot that was placed on the November ballot last year on the previous legislature. I wasn't there yet, by I believe Senator Lara. And this is just to overturn parts of 227 that pretty much outlaw bilingual education or biliteracy. So by overturning parts of 227, it will allow for I guess it will remove the whole waiver requirement for these types of programs to be enacted as far as for parents that want to participate in dual immersion or other biliteracy programs.
Yeah, my understanding is that it will increase the number of dual language programs that will be available and that more students can be part of this.
I don't know if it'll increase it. I think it could. It will encourage, it will actually facilitate, and maybe it will help remove barriers to it, I guess you could say, because sometimes that is a barrier to have to sign 20 release forms and so forth. So it removes barriers. People, you gotta understand that when it comes to these kind of programs, dual immersion program, it's a bottom-up approach. People really have to want it. The public, the parents have to want it. The schools, the teachers, the principal, they have to want it. The administration has to accept it. And then after that, you get to have complete buy-in. If it's top-down, the senator saying, I want this program, that's not gonna happen. It's gonna fall apart. So it's just removing barriers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, buenos dias. I'm Jan Correa, the CEO of CABE, the California Association for Bilingual Education. I'm happy to be here amongst great friends and colleagues and many in the audience as well. I want to thank our panelists for their great visionary words and the Senator for really your vision. Coming back to Sacramento, bringing your bilingual teaching experience with you and bringing this to the forefront. There are many elements that were spoken of today that just resonate so well, and we appreciate the vision that you have to move this forward. I think the area around primary language assessment and making the tools readily available to our teachers is such an important piece, and as CABE, we support that work moving forward in the department and encourage continued funding and support from that within the Senate and Assembly to make that a reality as we introduce the new Common Core and other programs within our schools that we have that aligned assessment. The other piece that really stood out to me that you all talked about in many ways is the teacher pipeline. And CABE, as an organization, we work greatly to provide professional development support to our teachers so they're prepared to meet the needs of language and English learners in the classroom. And my question and my comment to you, I think, would be, it's great, and we are very resound around identifying the issue and bringing the issue forward. I'm representing also colleagues from San Diego State University that couldn't be here today, Dr. Karen Cadero-Kaplan, Dr. Cristina Alfaro, and others, who also have that emphasis of really building a solid program within their university. Other universities as well have maintained their bilingual authorization. Many programs have not. And so my question to you would be, in working together with you, what is your vision of helping us bring forward that need for bilingual teachers and having a campaign around building that network? What we know from NEMIS and your experience here in ABC Unified and other districts, we have to have those teachers who are highly qualified. So as we identify that issue and that problem, what are some steps that you're seeing we can take statewide to respond to Carlene's perspective? How do we come together to really make that a prerogative, to make that a real priority, to move forward, to really increase the number of bilingual teacher candidates and bring back those programs that really offer that offering? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, and it's a very good question. Again, it goes to what we talked about earlier, creating this campaign for consciousness, beginning to inform the legislators and other policy holders and people who work on the budget, like the governor and many school boards, that we need to ensure that we begin to address this issue. And I've said it before, some people, like I said, they don't really believe that it's here. I guess when it gets here, then we're gonna really be in a world of hurt. But I do think that we need to begin and continue to educate the policymakers and our governor and other stakeholders that we need to address this issue sooner rather than later. And that's my goal through this committee and any other capacity that I have, that I will continue to work on ways to address the shortage and how do we increase more teachers to become B-clad holders and get involved in providing this biliteracy education for our kids. And that's one of the reasons I started this committee, is to ensure that we continue to have that committee, that discussion and create policy and create policy and also budgetary support for these kind of programs.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Count on CABE to support you with that effort, and I'll be forwarding the letter from San Diego State as well in support of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning. My name is Cheryl Ortega. I'm from United Teachers Los Angeles, where I'm the Director of Bilingual Education, and we advocate and work for the students and the teachers of about 200,000 students in that district who are English learners. A couple of things that I want to thank you all really for doing this and look forward to whatever it is that will follow after this. A couple of things is on the issue of the pipeline, we need to be aware that we have thousands of teachers with BCLAD authorizations who do not use them because they're not in programs that require it. And so there's a pool of people ready to move into this, to move into, you know, as part of the core of teachers. And then beyond them, we have thousands and thousands of native Spanish-speaking teachers who do not have a BCLAD. So I just think that that's a great starting place for recruiting, and I'm sure that that's true all over the state of California. The issue that Jan talked about with the institutions of higher learning needing to reinstate programs, you know, that used to have them but don't have them anymore. So I guess those are the two things, the pipeline and the teachers that are ready, willing, and available, but not trained yet to do this. I think that we need to look into that. Oh, I know, the one other piece is that the outreach that needs to start statewide is urgent in view of the ballot initiative that's going to be on our ballot in a year. Very many people in our own institutions aren't aware of it. They're not aware of all of the issues that we've talked about. They're talking about 2-decade-old mindsets about what bilingual education is. And so we can't wait to start on that outreach thing. Voting's going to happen in 12 months, in 11 months. So I would just encourage everybody who's able to start working on the whole outreach piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Senator Mendoza, panel, thank you very much for this opportunity and for this forum. It's excellent. My name is Miriam Casimir. I'm a professor in the Department of Education at Cal Poly Pomona. I'm the bilingual coordinator, and I'm thrilled to be here with you all. Let's see, so I guess I'm going to stand back. This is hot mic. Can you hear me?
Yeah, closer?
Even closer, okay.
Closer, probably, yes.
All right. So just so you know, in the announcement it said comments or public comments, so I didn't actually prepare a question. Okay.
Can you get a little bit closer? I can barely hear you.
So in the invitation, we were asked to give public comments as opposed to questions.
If you have any,
just so you know.
Sure.
That's what I'm doing.
Sure.
Okay. So in terms of some of the teacher preparation issues that I encounter as the bilingual coordinator in a program that offers the bilingual authorization, which is the reauthorized version of the BCLAD. It's called the bilingual authorization. Here's some of what I have for you. First, it would be great if at the state level or even at the federal level, we could have some funds for recruitment and growing programs, and also some pay incentives for teachers on the other end. Okay, so we used to be able to apply for federal monies, but as you know, those grant programs have been pretty much non-existent for the last few years. Secondly, I deal with some real structural issues at the CSU level and at the CTC level that are almost insurmountable. They make my job really difficult. For example, at the CSU level, there are a certain number of units that people can take while they're getting credentials. Well, that leaves me with, between that and the CTC's reauthorization into bilingual authorization, I don't have a full credential program. So my candidates get their primary credentials and at the same time add the bilingual authorization. So I'm competing with the primary programs. If the students have to take a required course from the primary program or the bilingual methods course, they're going to take the other course. Because what they really need is their primary credential. So I need to stop competing with them, okay? That's just an example. Let's see. So there's a lack of integration between the primary program and the bilingual authorization program, and that creates all sorts of numbers issues. And, okay, so I'm getting nervous, so I'll just finish with my third point, which is that there are some structural inequity or systemic inequities in California that we need to attend to as we prepare teachers. I don't want us to give up on our US-born bilinguals because they have fabulous dispositions to teach our kids. They are born right here. They're born and they have grown up bilingual. And in my opinion, having been a teacher, a bilingual teacher in both maintenance and dual immersion programs, their dispositions far and above exceed what we want from teachers compared to the foreign teachers who really have to grasp at the sociopolitical context of our schools. Okay? However, these same kids that I'm trying to prepare are the victims of the toxic cocktail of Proposition 227 and No Child Left Behind. So their native language, particularly Spanish, in the case of the teachers that I prepare, are in a rapid state of recession. They're losing their Spanish, okay? And I know from talking to principals and to everybody, and also as a teacher, that we need teachers with robust Spanish to teach in the classrooms. But are we going to give up on those? So I feel like that's a dispositional issue on our part. The state did them wrong. We should have had those, what we used to have 30% kids going in bilingual programs prior to Prop 227. And instead we've had about 5%. So now what do we do with them? They're great candidates. I need more units. I need to offer them a great program where they can maybe minor in Spanish while they get their bilingual authorization. Something like that. We just need to be inventive. So I'll just leave it at that, and thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I also want to thank you for having this hearing. My name is Ann Zarian Lee. I'm a first grade teacher in a dual language program at Aldama Elementary School in Highland Park, which is a Los Angeles community. I have my BCLAD. I'm also a national board certified teacher. Aldama's dual language program was started about 8 years ago in response to parent demand. Every day I get to see young children who are growing in their understanding and ability to use two languages for all academic subjects as well as personal communication. And it's really a joyful and exciting adventure for all of us. Our first dual language kindergarten class is now in 7th grade at the brand new dual language academy established on the campus of Franklin High School in Highland Park. And our second kindergarten class is in the 6th grade there. So year by year we're adding another grade, and in Highland Park, against all odds, we're building dual language, a ladder from kindergarten through 12th grade. So why are we doing it? Well, dual language students, you know, reap multiple benefits in both personal and academic areas from learning in a program in which full proficiency in two languages is the emphasis, not using one language for early exit just as a stepping stone, an imperfect stepping stone to another language. The research shows that. I'm not going to go into that in detail, but I want to say that there's another reason that's very important to our community, for our state and for every school district to invest in dual language education. California and our nation, as you know, are growing and changing. Our national discourse and commerce are enriched by the use of multiple languages. Consider the following statistics, which are readily available from reputable sources on the internet. First, the language spoken by more people in the world than any other is Chinese, by far. The vast majority of Chinese speakers live in China. But the second most spoken language in the world is Spanish. The third most spoken language in the world is English. There are over 400 living languages currently being spoken in the United States, including indigenous languages. An estimated 50 million people living in the United States speak Spanish. There are more Spanish speakers right now in the United States than any other country in the world except Mexico. Within 35 years, the United States is expected to surpass Mexico in the number of Spanish speakers. So clearly, Spanish, English, dual language programs are preparing our children for the real world, in which they will need to speak, read, and write proficiently in both Spanish and English in order to communicate with friends, neighbors, colleagues, and participate in our civic life. It's not all about commerce, right? It's about civic life too, about doing the job you're doing, Senator. So that's why the parents and teachers at Aldama Elementary School, under the leadership of our principal, Sergio Corral, are giving students the great and necessary gift of being able to communicate in both English and Spanish. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to help my students at the beginning of their language learning journey, but I'm really saddened by the fact that so few students in our state get the opportunity to learn in two languages, to become fully literate in two languages. As you know, there's relatively few students in our state and in my own school district who have access to dual language programs. This has got to change because we don't live in a monolingual world. Our children are not growing up in a monolingual world, and we need to give them all the help we can so they can succeed in the real world. And public policy needs to reflect that fact. So I'm really happy you're going to tell the state about why we need multilingual education, and I just want to ask you to do whatever you can to extend the benefits of dual language instruction to every student. So every student in the state has the option of accessing it. And in particular, if I may refer to one population, the immigrant community. Before coming to Aldama Elementary School, I was at Esperanza Elementary School, which is in the Westlake area of Los Angeles, an immigrant community. Most of the parents of my students came from Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, other Central American countries, and yet these students who could benefit tremendously from dual language are being deprived of it. They're being pushed into English-only instruction, which is a great disservice to them and to our country. And we need to change that. We need to make sure that dual language instruction is available to all of our students. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Good morning. My name is Cynthia Vasquez Pettit, and I am the Director of English Learner and Multilingual Services of the Anaheim Union High School District. And we serve students, over 31,000 students, in the cities of Anaheim, Buena Park, La Palma, Stanton, and Cypress. Thank you so much to all of you for being here today and inspiring us and uplifting us in our journeys to make sure that all of our students and our citizens of California and the United States are indeed biliterate and multicultural citizens. About 5 years ago, we really embarked on our journey of promoting biliteracy in our school district. Thank you to all of you, for CABE, to Californians Together, for supporting, and our local school district, our superintendent, and the state of California in helping us get our programs jump-started. About 2010, with the Californians Together's guidance, we offered a Seal of Biliteracy recognition program before the state did adopt that program. And at that time, we piloted the program at 3 of our high schools, 3 languages, about 200 students were recognized. Since then, just last year, we had over 7 languages recognized with the state Seal of Biliteracy, and that would be just about 900 students in total receive that recognition. And we want to keep advancing that number to over 4,000 of all of our senior students one of these years. We would like to see that. We also had collaborated with our feeder elementary school district, one of them. We have 5, which is a challenge for us in streamlining the pipeline to biliteracy and the pathways to biliteracy. And we did collaborate with one of our school districts, and we do have a dual language academy for our 7th and 8th grade students, and that has been in place for 5 years now with the support of CABE as well and our local universities in making sure that we are providing the professional development for our teachers and the curriculum for our students. We have done a lot these past 5 years, but there is so much more to do. And thank you so much, Senator Mendoza, for bringing all of this to light to our legislature so that we can see these programs continue and expand, especially in our district where we serve over 50 different languages and working along with our feeder elementary districts and also with our universities. So I just wanted to thank you all for the efforts and to continue on, and we look forward to working together and seeing all of our students have that biliteracy diploma when they graduate from our school systems. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Good morning, buenos días. My name is Veronica M. Miranda Cordero. My daughter actually attends one of our dual emergence programs in Hacienda La Puente. The program is at Los Altos Elementary. I know that, Senator, you had a chance to go see the Valinda program, but unfortunately you weren't able to see the Los Altos program. So I want to speak a little bit more to that and the importance of seeing these programs. My daughter is the 3rd cohort, I believe, of this program. So she's starting as a kinder student, has an amazing teacher. Her name is Senor Lopez, and has done a lot for our students. But I want to speak to more how we had someone speak at Cal Poly Pomona talking about B-clads, and myself, I am going back to school to get my master's and my 2nd credential, but it is that factor of getting a B-clad, but it's faster for me to attain a master's. Oh, take 4 more classes, you have a master's, versus a B-clad, I have to take, again, picking and choosing those classes. How do I get a credential faster to be a teacher and to be certified versus, oh, take 4 classes, your comp classes, and you're good to go to be a principal, which I find that a little interesting from the state because we are competing against international programs that are coming in. So to me, Senator, I hope you will be able to see Los Altos Elementary. As a parent, I am speaking for you to come out because of the fact that we have so much not only parent support, but community support as well too. We stream from the La Puente side all the way to Hacienda Heights. So seeing that and the community involvement is very important because me personally growing up in San Gabriel Valley and then attending school in Hacienda La Puente, I got to see that the La Puente side truly didn't understand dual emergence because of the fact historically Spanish was a language you were not allowed to speak in school. Until 2015, we are being told it is okay to speak Spanish, but with boundaries. And I think that's an agenda we have to push because we live in a very multiculturalism community. And I think that's one thing historically we need to look at, because if we were being told back in walkout times of 1969 and being told do not speak Spanish in classes, and now being able to speak Spanish, that is something we need to teach to our community. That is very, very important. And I'm just glad that we had folks from East LA. The School Academia Semillas de Pueblos is a model of that those issues of not only understanding indigenous communities, but understanding our community as well too. So Senator Mendoza, I hope you were able to listen to all my thoughts and process and everything, but I do want to thank you again for coming out, but hopefully things will change from here on out. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you going back to school and hopefully get your credential, and appreciate the comments. Thank you so much. And I know that the Hacienda La Puente has, they also have a Mandarin program. I went to the school there, and it's impressive to see that program in play. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Olympia Lopez, and I am a 2014 graduate and recipient of the State Seal of Biliteracy. And I really want to thank everybody for recognizing my language, my family's language, and motivating to use my skills for my future careers. I am a current student at Cal Poly Pomona and majoring in international business. And I really am thankful because I want to reach out to those who are not yet, are not informed that being bilingual is a gift. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Hello, I'm Karina Mejia. I am a 2013 recipient of the Seal of Biliteracy from the San Bernardino School District. I graduated from Pacific High School, and now I'm currently attending Cal Poly also. I'm a third-year liberal studies major, and I feel that just encouraging diversity and multicultural in the community and just embracing and then encouraging students to be bilingual is a great thing, and it's the benefits really shows in higher education and in the future in our career. So I think it's a great thing that you guys are pushing, and we're really happy about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Hilda Maldonado. I'm the Executive Director of Multilingual Multicultural Education with Los Angeles Unified School District, a pupil of Shelley Spiegel Coleman and also Lori Olson. 3 years ago when I started in this position, I was assigned to work with the Office for Civil Rights when they came to our district and found us to be out of compliance with English Learner Services. And I just want to remind you that for a district like ours with over 150,000 English learners, the urgency for us really became about dealing with the long-term English learner population in our middle and high school schools. And we have really focused our attention on this generation of students who we know are going to be possibly not being able to graduate or graduating with less than fluent literacy in reading, comprehension, and in language. It has taken a long time for us to get to a place where we can start focusing on these dual bilingual programs, which we know are what we need for English learners. But I want to remind you, Senator, that this population of long-term English learners exists not only in LAUSD and the thousands of students that we need to really think about when we look at budgeting, teacher preparation. Our teachers are not prepared to receive these students who have not benefited from these programs, and they exist today. And that impacts our graduation rates, it impacts their future college attendance rates. These kids may want to attend college and have to go through remedial programs to get to the level that they should have gone to when they went through our system. So not to bash LAUSD, because we are over 1,000 school district. We have 75 dual bilingual programs in our district that we continue to grow. Our board has made an investment in separately norming teacher to student ratios in schools this year, which has incentivized for many of our school leaders the idea of being able to maintain the program, because if you start in elementary with a 24:1 ratio, by the time they get to 4th and 5th grade and the ratio increases, you then may lose some of this program continuity. It's also difficult in middle schools when you require a single subject credential for a teacher, who then on top of that may be required to have a B-clad or an additional language credential. So there's a lot of credentialing issues that we need to think about systematically so that we can maintain the program from elementary to middle to high. And I wanted to also talk to you about LCFF. We do not get money once the students reclassify, which in many ways disincentivizes this idea to get them to proficiency, because LCFF only deals with English learners, not reclassified fluent speakers. So I just wanted to give you a sense of the systematic nature of our district, our size. Thank you, and thank you to the panel for doing the work that we also believe in LAUSD, and hopefully consider the needs of a large school district like ours and some of the issues that I brought up today as you continue with this work, and you can count on our support as well. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. What model do you use at LAUSD?
We use many different models.
Really?
We have Spanish, Mandarin, Korean. We have 90-10, 50-50, transitional bilingual, and maintenance bilingual. We're also experimenting this year with some foreign language programs. We started one on the west side with French. We have Arabic going in the south, and we're looking at some after-school programs with Farsi, as well as a couple schools looking at Armenian.
Are you carrying it through from elementary and middle school all the way to high school?
Well, the problem is in the middle school. That's where
Right.
we're having the hardest time
That happens a
with
lot.
both teacher preparation and the funding and creating a master schedule that is able to maintain a middle school language focus in middle school. If kids are needing remediation in literacy or math, it doesn't leave room in their schedule in middle school to add that language learning. And that's where we're seeing the pipeline stopping.
So I know when we get credentialed, I don't know if they still do it the same way when I got my credential, but it's K to 8, right? Elementary is K to 8 credential?
No, the credentials are K for multi-subject up to about 6th grade. Sometimes schools, if they're coring their students, can go up to 6th or 7th grade. But if, in order to maintain the dual program in middle school, you require the other credentials as well, because you may have the teacher needing to teach mathematics and Spanish. So they need a math credential as well as a B-CLAD or a language credential.
Right. Yeah, I know there seems to be a challenge at the middle schools. They have a gap there sometimes. So, okay. Well, great. Thank you for bringing those issues forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Senator Mendoza. My name is Lonnie Kupchoy. I am a school board member for Montebello Unified School District, and we have a lot of our folks here that have been able to join us. Wave your hands, wave your hands. It's a quick shout out. We service 30,000 students, and you're very full aware of our cities that we service. And first of all, I wanted to thank you all, your panelists, for putting together this really wonderful forum. And I've heard a lot of folks come up here and speak about different issues and what's happening in our communities, but I wanted, as a school board member, for you to hear, what it is that we are facing, our challenges. And I cannot emphasize enough this, what one of your panelists spoke about with these issues, that this needs to be a message that's system-wide, statewide. And for us here in Montebello Unified, let me just tell you, for myself, I am a professor of history, a recent PhD, just received it literally last week. Thank you. Thank you. And I currently service the district that I grew up in. I am a former student. And back in the early 70s, when I first started this school district, I walked into my kindergarten class and I was told, do not speak Spanish. And that was my first language. To be able to walk back into my district now as a school board member, I want to say 35 years later, and to be able to read Spanish in a dual immersion program in the same elementary and kindergarten school that I grew up in, it is just an amazing accomplishment. And I realize that it's taken a lot of different folks and thinking and collaboration. But to be honest with you, sir, we're not there yet. And that is because one of the greatest challenges that we are encountering is, and we just had our quinceañera, our dual immersion quinceañera, is that we have difficulties expanding. And so one of the unique things that we've done in our district is to create a TK-12 pipeline of dual immersion and ethnic studies. We are one of the districts here locally that have passed this resolution to do so. What I am asking is, and that is because I want to say that the issue is not just about biliteracy, language, but also that ethnic studies is a form of analytical languages that helps to create these connections for multicultural competency. So what I'm saying is, we took a path, our board, our vision was to approach the student from a non-singular view, so that it wasn't just a dual immersion model, but it was something that was going to help our students make greater connections in our community, to be able to learn from folks from their community, their stories and their voices. And so again, I cannot echo enough how important it is to have this system and statewide message, marketing, and I would encourage you to create a forum for superintendents specifically and for board members across the state to get together in one room. I don't know how you're going to make it happen, but get everybody into one room, because I truly believe that if you can get different districts together to not only create these kinds of policies that look beyond these boundaries of just these singular structures, I really do believe that we can in fact create a 21st century model. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nani. Appreciate you being here. I actually didn't know you were here. I would have introduced you earlier. I appreciate your comments, and you're doing a great job on the school board. I appreciate that, and all great comments. And thank you for sharing your story. I think it's very telling of our experiences as we're growing up here in Southern California and throughout our state, actually. Having been a migrant family moving up and down our state in my childhood, and you get to have the same experiences, I can tell you it's changing, but we still have some work to do. So, thank you. Seeing no other questions, I want to just again want to thank the panelists for your time and your great stories and information that you provided for us today. I think it's well received, and a lot of work needs to be done, but I think this is just our starting point. Our message will continue, and we have some more hearings to come up in next year, and we'd love to continue to work with you on making sure that we accomplish our goals of creating a biliterate California and welcoming message, I guess, from all the people here in California. So with that, I want to thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and God bless. Thank you.
And thank you, Tony Mendoza.
Thank you. Give our panel a round of applause. Thank you.